Hello once again, this is Ania Lian. What I would like to show you in this video is how I actually think in a more schematic way about structuring a research project. So not just while we're focusing on research proposal, really a research proposal is a kind of map of your project. So let's have a look how I do this. And I am just taking you briefly through this PowerPoint just to assist you in working with this tool. So why did I put it here? Basically, this is just to remind you that our research is not about detecting the truth about the world. This is all about, so it's not about looking for a perfect process in order to work with facts and to produce more of the processes which are true and real and written in stone. What we're actually working with is discursively constructed, which means not true, just worthwhile or proving to be of value processes with perspectives and also with ways we design things in order to get better results, more working for us. So better doesn't make them true. What it does, it makes them actually things work for us better. So the questions were actually around which we structure our research projects are not about whether someone is right or wrong, but basically how to manage things better. Or how to construct a dialogue in the community, or how to build communities of practice. So you can see they are full of verbs here because it's about processes, how to make things better, clear, working for us. First stage is very obvious. This is what I have covered in my earlier part 1 video. So I will not explain it, you can just read it to yourselves. This is how a problem statement may look, and if you want to do this particular project you can actually copy and paste it into your assignment, and if this is what you would like to do, so just read it carefully for yourselves. Then what do I have here? Then I tried to actually show you how what are the components of a research project and how they relate to one another. Now you may ask yourselves, why am I doing all this complicated work when it's all probably quite simple, you just write your assignment. That could be true, but we need to reflect on one problem that typically is plaguing all the assignments and a lot of research projects, and it is mentioned in your assignment as a condition of a well-written project, and it is to be critical, right? And obviously now I'm opening what appears to be a Pandora box in most research studies, because people find it very difficult to actually define what this critical element is and where it is to come from. The critical element will come from nowhere else but actually from your good analysis of what actually requires repairing or needs repairing. So from your rationale, right? So the rationale is not just a little story to back up your research project. It actually has to identify specifically what kinds of tensions your research project is addressing and why exactly building a community of practice. Well, I'm referring specifically to this project theme, and why specifically building a community of practice should actually assist in addressing those tensions. Now, once we are aware what is it that we actually have to overcome or resolve or address, now we can actually look in the literature for the kinds of strategies that will help us address these tensions. So when you read about strategies for building communities of practice, you look for those that have a potential to actually assist you in building a community of practice in the way that has the capacity to address those tensions and ultimately to also facilitate the enhancement of the quality of teaching and learning in your school. Effectively, what you will produce is an argument, or it's a description of the kinds of qualities or the kinds of strategies that have the capacity to address these questions, and then when linked together to the kinds of qualities or factors that have a potential to enhance the school performance, together you will actually obtain what's called a framework for designing a community of practice that has the capacity to achieve its purpose, which is to enhance the quality of teaching and learning in your school. So the framework itself is already a product of critical thinking, because what you did not just produce a framework, which is what some people might do, but you have specified the problem, you have identified in your rationale what really, in terms of the literature review, what people think it's a factor that is actually preventing schools from doing as well as they could. Then you have looked into the literature of communities of practice, and you have identified strategies that actually the literature says have the potential to resolve, or at least address to a degree, this problem. Then you also looked at the criteria here of enhancements of school performance, and you combined the strategies with those criteria, and you have identified something that might be of value in practice. Altogether, your framework for designing communities of practice in order to support teaching and learning in school is already systematically conceptualized. It is a product of systematic thinking. Now, you could leave it here for the purpose of EPL 501. You could just leave your research here. However, because your research is asking to actually engage peers and to have a collaborative aspect, you could do it in two different ways. One is simply engage your peers in sharing and discussing the two aspects or three aspects of your work. However, leaving it just there does not necessarily engage your peers in a informed or critical way. So that would be alright, and you could leave it there, and many of you will leave it here. However, in order to actually use your peers in a more theoretically coherent or systematic way, I have introduced in this particular scheme, or in this suggestion, another aspect that you may decide to use or you may decide not to use, which involves the use of your framework, the one you constructed here, now to produce an action plan, which is about how would you actually start maybe engaging your school community in starting to work and think as a community of practice. How would you do that? Now, this doesn't need to be an elaborative action plan, but it should actually identify the features of your plan that can be understood by others, who will then respond or will be engaged in responding on the quality of your action plan. And to facilitate this response, you need to create a set of questions. And where will you get your questions from? Well, I suggest that you get your questions from criteria you identified here as needed for the school to see that it is actually enhancing its quality of teaching and learning. Now, as I said here, because it's a small action plan and it is about starting to engage your school community in thinking of itself as a community of practice, you might actually not design this action plan as a whole year endeavor, but more or less target it very precisely on a particular aspect or particular aspects of that involve the enhancement of quality of teaching and learning. And therefore, when you plan your questions, these questions will be designed to target those particular aspects of quality improvement. Right, so not the whole thing, not the whole array of them, but just particular aspects of it. And then you could actually create a little questionnaire and send it to your peers or to maybe people who actually participate in this change management process. And you could actually ask them to express their opinion on it. Now, some of you have used with me already Google survey or Google form to create such a survey. If you haven't, please go on YouTube, type using Google form as a survey, and you can actually learn very quickly how to do it. If you still don't know how to do it, please ask on LearnLine on the discussion board, and I will supply the relevant videos for you to use. And then as last steps, you simply evaluate the outcomes of your survey and you write here, you conclude your project with a summary of your findings. Right, so it seems like a small research project and may be useful for other units in the Master of Education program, but I think if you don't do it too big and if you focus it small, this little aspect here of your design, which is to create an action plan and then to get your colleagues to evaluate it, quite nicely and systematically engages your collaborators in your project, which is probably a bit smarter or a bit more sophisticated than just simply getting their views on what you think the good strategies of community of practice would be and so on LearnLine. Now, up to you how you do it, as I said, but this is a kind of neat and nice way of engaging collaboration in a little project like this one. Thank you.